you start bringing forth language and vocabulary that's just like, what is she talking about, right? That's what happens when you go galactic.
Wow. Yeah. So what you're saying is once you go galactic, you never go back.
You never go back.
We are live and we're recording and we are alive. So what an amazing day today out here in Southern Colorado. We've been getting hit with snow and sleet and ice and wind, and now the sun's peeking out, blue skies. So the reptiles are poking their head out. They're like, oh, look, it's really nice out today. And you just got back from Rome and you went to Machu Picchu before that, I think, and you've been traveling the world. So how cool is that? And now you're back home in the wonderful state of Alabama. I have family and friends in Alabama. And how have you been? It's great to see you.
I've been great. It's so good to be here. I'm excited to see you. I've been wanting to connect again. And
Tarot of Ra, the most powerful tarot deck ever created. The power of the gods in your hands. Deities from around the world, different times, different cultures, combined with incredible artwork and powerful symbolism. Order your set today at tarotofra.com.
fill you in with everything that I have going on. And yeah, I'm here in Alabama, and I have to say, I feel like the state gets somewhat of a bad rap. There's a little bit of a stigma for some reason, but I have found it to really be a safe haven. I think for Starseeds, especially some of the topics I think we're going to dive into today. Wanting to maybe get away from more of the polluted or inflated city areas and stuff. I think that Alabama offers, that Southern charm and hospitality. So it's a good place. And yeah, I just recently went on another Gridworker mission where we went in to tackle the reversal energies, the 5D reversal Stargate on the Earth, which is really the capital of the globe of nefarious and diabolical energies. And so we went in there as mission and warriors, and we corrected that reversal Stargate by just, standing in presence, being the light, and trying to shift the consciousness of the land and also extract negative alien machinery. And so I think it was very successful. And, but yeah, I've been dealing with a lot since I've gone there. I'm learning a lot about reversal mechanics right now currently. So I think it's just a part of my mission at this time to interpret how reversal energy works and the depth of it in terms of the grids that are running in the earth and what this is doing to humanity on a collective level.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Very interesting how you would be able to reverse an energy of such magnitude. So like what type of steps do you take? Is it a ritualistic fashion? Are you using ancient hermetics? Are you using your own mindset? Let's talk about it.
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think we bring our authenticity to it. It's definitely under the cosmic Christos and divine Sophianic principles. But we go in and we essentially do particular rituals and tactics and etiquette that we use to, so for example, we have reversal energy running at a lot of the obelisks, essentially. So that's kind of like a sexualized area of the grid where you have this big phallic sticking out of the land. And typically what they're running geometrically at those sites is a Vesica Pisces. So they are basically inserting that phallic into what is the geometry of the female vagina, essentially. And so it's a way to stake claim over that land. It's also a way to insert what has came down through the Metatronic coding or the 55 reversal energies the pharaonic curses, a lot of the martyrdom, and the just the overtaking of that, essentially. And so we go in as a group and we run the clockwise energy. So the reversal energy is indeed going reverse. And then we walk around those X amount of times, shifting the direction of the energy and also seeing the intention of purity, restoration, and renewal into those sites.
Oh,
It's a lot.
it is. So tell us more about that then, as far as like the ritual stuff. Are you using sounds, colors, certain days of the week? I'd like to hear more details on that.
Well, because I am the facilitator, I'm kind of like the one that's guiding the group. I typically go there and I pre-scout the land. I pre-scout it, I feel and I intuit the energies that are there. And I typically design custom portal collapses. And I create basically the words or the invocation or what is being collapsed down verbally. And then I kind of speak that out loud. And then we go into the actual correcting of the portal after we do that, essentially. There's a lot of other ways that we can do things like this, though. It doesn't have to be like that every time. Sometimes we use tools as well. Sometimes we use just prayer and meditation. And there's just a lot of ways that we implement it. Sound healing is one way that you can do that as well, though. Yeah, definitely.
And you said you just got back from Rome.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of December, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty darn close. So still hot off the press, still fresh on your mind. Tell us about it. Like, when in Rome, are you a Roman?
I would say that I was there to anchor the divine, to anchor the light. I was observing a lot. I went in with big giant angel wings. So I actually took some giant angel wings and I went up to the Vatican and was wearing them there. And I did actually get spotted by the policia and kind of threw a wrench, kind of, I think, upset the powers that be there. The day that we were supposed to do the grid work, I was kind of attacked and I was hit with bioweapons, essentially, that kind of attacked the group. So we were supposed to initially start at the main obelisk at the Vatican, but we had to redirect and kind of start at a different location because of that incident that had happened. But I felt the bioweapon, and when it hit me immediately, it went to my solar plexus all the way down to my root. I was definitely very shaky. And then immediately 2 days after that happened, I came down with the Kraken. I actually became very sick for about, I would say 3 weeks. I was very sick. I was like, could not get out of bed. I feel like I kind of took one for the team, so to speak, going in there just to kind of show that we don't have to stand in violence. We don't have to, but it is kind of like a protest in a way. It is activism in a way that we're going in there and we are showing that we can stand in our spiritual power and do things peacefully, but also be on mission in the fact that we're targeting, the things that are degradational to humanity, the evils of the things that exist in the world, and that we can, we're not just helpless victims here, just taking the brunt of what's happening to us, that we can actually kind of stand in our power. And I think it's inspirational. And I think it helps others to see that we can come together in groups and do this work. I'm currently planning another mission right now, actually in Washington, D.C. So for the summer solstice, we're doing a Washington, D.C. event. It's going to be up to 50 people. We're going to go there. We're going to do a 5-hour coursework of what grid work means and what that looks like for people. We're going to hand out the itinerary. We're going to go and we're going to work on certain areas in Washington, D.C. that I think need to be worked on. Washington, D.C. is also another reversal Stargate energy on the Earth. Everything that's going on there. And so some of the things that we've scouted in the land have been well, there's a lot of Masonic symbolism in the city, right? We have that big upside down pentagram that's running. And so that's all connecting into Freemasonry. The White House itself, the geometry of it is also kind of like a bee in a beehive, that there's like multiple circles of geometries that looks like a wasp or a queen bee. And so as we remote viewing into it and some of the group work we were doing, we were see that it was actually kind of a flipped upside down queen energy that was kind of being hijacked or held against her will. And then we were seeing the hive or the honeycomb or the hexagonal matrix that was surrounding that. And so Washington, D.C. is a hive. And so we're going to go and kind of work to relinquish that spiritually, energetically, correcting the energy there, restoring the balance with nature, and just extracting the negative alien machinery that's running there. Also working on the ley lines that are going into DC as well. There's a ley line that runs down from the Devil's Tower that goes down to the reflecting pool of the Capitol. And then there's actually a lot of alien technology that's there. There's something called a yellow book. Is something that they got from Eisenhower and gray technology where they can see into the future. And so we're just going to go and try to extract some of that alien machinery that's there and just clear those ley lines. And yeah, so much is going on. It's so accelerative, I can't even stop it. It's a movement that's outside of me, and I'm just a part of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the forces of the universe are just formulating and coming together to make all of this happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I was going to say, like, with the Freemasonry, I'm not a Freemason, but, you know, I know a lot of people that are, and I know a lot of the symbology and the symbolism, and I've studied enough of Hermetics and ancient mythologies to have a pretty solid grasp on a lot of these symbols. And a lot of people seem to kind of blame just about everything on the Freemasons. And I wouldn't give them that much credit. Like, there's different lodges and there's different people connected to different lodges, just like church, right? There's different peoples that go to different churches, and there's people that have different beliefs, and there's good and bad and positive and negative and yin and yang in most societies, I would say. So what's interesting though is the hijacking of these energies, because I'm glad you brought this up. I guess I'm going to do this with you because I think that this would be an interesting discussion on symbolism. So let's talk about this for a minute. Symbolism, when you see a pentagram, or you hear the term pentagram, or you see an upside down pentagram, do you think if you see an upside down pentagram, is the first thought that comes into your head evil, or what?
Typically.
What's the first word that comes to your head? I just want to hear it.
I think pentagrams can be used for light and dark forces, most definitely. And I think that the upside right pentagram is typically for use of good, and upside down typically is for Luciferian or satanic, SRA, satanic ritual abuse.
Okay. Well, the media certainly portrays it that way, and many people in the alternative media push it that way also, as well as it is that way many times. And there's also the aspect of, if you look at a star that is upside down, the feminine aspect. So like the Star of David is an example. It's not just the Star of David, it's a positive and a negative, and when they unite, it's the yin and the yang united. And it isn't necessarily negative or positive. And so to look at a pentagram, depending on how it's depicted, or an upside down pentagram, it could be the divine feminine. It could be absolutely the divine feminine, and not a negative entity. However, actions speak louder than words. So what are the actions of those that are portraying those symbols? That's what we need to look at. And I wanted to show something that was shared with me at a conference. So thank you, Greg Yawakia from Red Tail Hawk Tribal Alliance. You'll notice that these are the Republican symbols for the GOP party. And you'll notice they're both elephants with stars on them in red and blue. And you'll notice that the first one is from 1874 to 2000. And then the next one is from 1994 to 2015. Do you notice a difference in these? And what difference do you notice?
Well, one looks lighter in blue and the other one looks darker in blue.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Keep looking.
The stars are upside down on the right one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hello. You picked that up. Well, guess who ran for Republican Party and was our president in within the beginning of that time?
George Bush?
Yeah, Bush.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
interesting.
he's connected to a lot of occult and esoteric things around.
And that was Bush Jr. But this is like Bush Sr., right? Let's see when Bush Sr. was in office. I want to check this out real quick because this is very interesting. Bush Sr. first year as president, 89 to 93. Interesting. 89 to 93. So he actually left office the year before the transitioning of this symbolism, which I find odd. I would have thought that he would have been, that it would have, he would have got that. So maybe he had to bring it in. He was like the ushering in of this new party in a sense of reversing the symbolism. Why are they reversing the symbolism? Now,
Yeah, that's interesting.
But if there was a female running for president, I would get it. I'd be like, oh, it's the divine feminine. It's the feminine aspect. But a female wasn't running for president in 94. And there seemed to be this dark, this really big, but you know what? We can go back to the presidents, even when Eisenhower was president. And when he got out of office, do you remember his last speech? He's like, I'm glad to be out of office. You could tell like he was being bullied around. He was a president of the United States 70 freaking years ago. So, but it's these little things like this that make me say, wow, okay, that's powerful symbolism. Darker blue, reversed star. Why would you do that? Do you think you're going to get more people to vote for you by reversing the star? Or is there something that you're paying homage to? And what is that you're paying homage to? But we have to be careful. Well, and see, even you brought up Baphomet. Let's talk about Baphomet. I'm glad I had a feeling Baphomet was going to be brought up. So if we talk about Baphomet, one might say Baphomet is evil. One might say Baphomet is satanic. And if you study Baphomet is a multitude of symbolism and symbology. So we're looking at Baphomet right now. Anton LaVey formed Baphomet, I think, in the 1600s approximately. And so if we look at the symbolism, okay, well, we've got the as above, so below. We've got the double helix, the double serpent in the genitals area, right? Like reproduction, DNA. We've got breasts, which is interesting, the feminine aspect. And then you've got this like goat head. And so, coming from, especially if you're religious or you come from a Christian background or a Abrahamic religious background, most likely, you're going to say, whoa, man, this is evil. This is the devil incarnate. And what's interesting is if you look at the Church of Satan, they'll use this symbology also as paying homage to, like, and most people that are a part of the Church of Satan, they don't even worship Satan. They worship themselves. But it's all kind of like decentralized. But anyway, I find it interesting that you would have a goat head on a body with breasts. I would think that but maybe it's just like a double play here. This may not necessarily be evil per se. This could represent.
I could tell you, I could give you a little bit of perspective.
Yeah, let's hear your perspective.
That I have with this entity. I actually dated a doctor, not like maybe like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And fraternity boy, him and all of his doctor friends, all in the fraternity. He was a very interesting character. I remember going to his house and he had symbolisms of Baphomet all over his house. He would do ritualistic magic, worshiping Baphomet. And I asked him like where he learned to do that. And he said in the fraternity. And so he would do like 100 Yahweh rounds every single day to Baphomet. And so that was always something that really stuck with me. And I just was like, that's really interesting.
Did he go to Yale?
I don't remember where he went. I think it was somewhere in Vermont or Pennsylvania or something. I just know that Baphomet has been associated with a lot of satanic worship and also Baal as well. I think it is also connected to the Dark Mother energy. I think it's connected to the lunar moon chains and lineages, which goes on a galactic level, bringing in imposter and invader races. I think that Baphomet is also associated to Aleister Crowley as well. And Aleister Crowley, I think, has been kind of, I really don't go too much into his stuff. I think I have one book of his and I haven't really touched it a lot, but the overall collective consensus of Aleister Crowley was that he was a black or dark magician and took a lot of his stuff from the Greater and Lesser Keys of King of Solomon. And I think King of Solomon also has a lot of connections to Metatron and the Metatronic systems, and was a part of the implementation of the reversal grid systems, which was like the hijacking of this original like Sophianic Christos energy. And that, so it kind of, and also connects into Thoth as well, and the Thothian grids and all of these things. So I just, from what I've studied, which is a lot of Lisa Renee and a lot of Ashana Dean, a lot of the Mayan factor, and what goes back to the galactic synchronization of the original divine templates of the earth body. I think that a lot of these things are rooted in distortions, and especially with them being connected to a lot of the lesser spirits, that they do in fact bring black magic into the field if we're invoking these spirits or these entities. I think that you can't be too sure of what you're bringing in if you're going to mess with these entities. They are connected to a lot of satanic ritual abuse, whether your intentions are good or bad, because I mean, that's just how I see it. And that might be that's my opinion. But Baphomet is kind of like, there's a word for it. It's when an animal merges with human DNA. There's a word for what they are called. I guess it's a hybrid.
Chimera?
Yes, a chimera. So it's kind of a form of a chimera as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you're bringing up some great points, right? Like there are very dark people that do very bad things and use certain icons as their mascot. And I see it as like a hijacking sometimes. Like they'll take something and hijack it. Because what is even more powerful for a dark magician is to take something pure and reverse it, right? Take something positive and turn it into the negative. Take something white and darken it. And so, like, how many things have been reversed in our lifetimes and before our lifetimes into this usurping, like kind of like Rome? You know how it's so interesting how we're going back to Rome now, because Rome is this civilization that has usurped so many civilizations, and some people still think that behind the scenes there's many aspects of Rome that runs the show today, a Club of Rome kind of stuff. And so are there forces out there that usurp everything positive, reverse it into negative? Or was Baphomet actually created that way? Was Baphomet created as a dark entity, or was Baphomet created as the positive and the light into one anthropomorphic figure for somebody to look at? And then maybe it's designed as something scary so that you'll have to find the truth in the shadows. And most people won't even look for it because they're in fear of it. And I can see all aspects. And then at the same time, like you brought up a point, which is very important. And I think that we need to remember that there are these forces out there that do terrible things. And what are their mascots? So now we just need to find out the origins of those mascots, because when, you brought up the Freemasons earlier, there's some wonderful people that are Freemasons, and it's not all dark. I mean, there's different lodges. So it's all about the balance, I guess, the yin and the yang, the truth. The truth will set you free. Hello.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. How things get distorted, twisted, reversed. I mean, I think with the Vatican, what these sites are on a planetary level from a grid worker's perspective, they're all organic and natural resources. They're all areas of the grid that contain potency. They contain power. And then when that power center or that source is discovered, it calls in a lot of spirits. It calls in a lot of people who are intrigued over that. And it forms in some areas that have turned into, every reversal gate on the earth wasn't originally a reversal gate. It became hijacked. It became siphoned. It became overtaken by forces. And this really goes back, if we want to like really go back and look at it in terms of how this you have to go back to the origination, which I think goes back to planetary warfare. I mean, I studied some of Zachariah Sitchin's work, and he talks about, in the beginning, there was just Tiamat. And then we had Maldek that came in and imploded into the original Tiamat body. While Maldek was known for bringing the seeds of narcissism, was known for bringing the seeds of the reptilian bodies here. And that implosion created the asteroid belt. And that in turn brought forth the mental templating to these dark forces. And so I think this is always a consciousness, you know, whether we blame it on these groups or these stargates or these entities, these lesser spirits, that I think it was always a mind field or a gridding template that existed in the earth body at one point or another through our creation of planetary evolution. And I think this goes back, also, this is tied to Saturn's influence as well. Saturn has everything to do with the black cube technology, the black cube geometry, the black cube tesseract. And I think that ultimately actually runs a holographic black cube inside the Earth's inner core matrices. And so we don't always feel that all the time, but when those things activate according to planetary cycles, these energies resurface in full force. I think even right now at this time that we're going through in terms of our evolution and ascension, we're currently experiencing a strain in the dissension timelines. So everybody who is awakened and empathic and can feel the energies, they are riding those ascension timelines, those degradational dissension timelines. As a collective, we go through this. And so I think Saturn's energy is activated right now. I think the reversal grid templating is very activated right now. And you can tell that by the things that you go through in your life. Are you having hardships? Are you having quarrels? Are you having attacks? Are you being betrayed? Are you having things happen that are unfortunate events? And are you really unlucky right now? Are you barely keeping your head above water? I mean, these are the signs of that you're riding the dissension timeline. And you might be plugged into some of those artificial grids and some of those more nefarious holographic designs as energetic fields that exist inside the earth. And so I think as humanity overall, I think is fighting a great evil that we are trying to figure out where that's coming from. How far back does this go? To the point of creation? Did this come in at a later point? You know what I mean? We point the finger at a lot of blame. Like, who is it? Where is it? The Dark Brotherhoods? Is it ancient Egypt? You know, but either way, there is an evil that exists on this earth that's coming between humanity and our sovereignty. And
you know, it's interesting because I've read the theories of Sitchin. I've only read about half of his first book, The 12th Planet. And, you know, some of his stuff's interesting. And I noticed when I read through that a lot of the translations that he did, you can go to Oxford University and they've done similar translations. I didn't find anything on Nibiru specific through those translations, but there's tons more tablets. And I actually have read about Nibiru a couple of times in the Enuma Elish. But the Tiamat description, when you read through it, and at first, you know, you think, okay, maybe it's extraterrestrial, maybe it's alien, and maybe it is. But the more research I've done on that, the more it appears that when they start talking about certain monsters, you know, like the giant scorpions that Gilgamesh has to fight off, and then he has to fight off a lion, and he has to fight off the bull. all of those are zodiac signs. So there's a very strong possibility that when Tiamat was like had a different atmosphere, it could have been Earth, and something like a comet or an asteroid or some planetary body stuff took place in the heavens. So our ancestors are watching that take place and they're attempting to write it down as best as possible. We have to remind ourselves, like, okay, where did this tablet come from? Who translated the tablet? Who wrote the tablet? How does that person know? Was that person the scribe of God? You know, like he's, yes, master, I will write everything down. Was that God, divine providence, or just like a very smart lord of ancient Egypt that had knowledge and that had been passed on to them? And so then it gets translated into God Almighty and all this other stuff. We just got to be real careful. Or, you know, the Anunnaki are absolutely real, but I can't confirm whether the Anunnaki are from here or from somewhere else. They very well could be from somewhere else. They, you know, I mean, we look at the Egyptian stuff and there's a very strong possibility our ancestors come from Sirius, the constellation, or the star Sirius, like the star itself, like light beings. But I can't scientifically prove that. So this is just speculation. But when you look at the archaeology out there and the depictions of the really old stuff and the way that it's aligned, there's connections to Mars as well, like Kyra. El Kyra means camp of Mars. It's the native word for Cairo in Egypt. And so you've been to Mayan places and you know a lot about the Mayan culture. And I want to hear. And so here's the thing. I do believe we have been visited 100%. I do believe that there are space travelers that visit us every day and they're here and they've colonized this planet and they've you know, genetically altered us in many ways. And they still are to this day. I just think that there's a lot of narratives out there. And I want to get your take on this, Indy. A lot of the old narratives out there about the ET abductions and stuff, a lot of that I think is actually connected to
Nazi stuff. Like, you will eat the bugs and you will like it. You will get abducted and you will like it because they're aliens. Listen to the aliens.
Meanwhile, they're doing weird experiments behind the scenes and just blaming everything on aliens. Like, that's my theory, your theory.
My theory is, I think you're absolutely right about Sirius. I think Sirius plays a huge role in the Atlantean time. If you watched Graham Hancock's recent deal, I can't remember what it was called on Netflix, but he just did something. Oh, I can't remember it, but he had a whole episode. It was the most recent thing he did on Netflix. He had a whole episode on Malta and how Malta is one of the most ancient archaeological sites.
Ancient apocalypse.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. But he was talking about how those temples in Malta, which goes back to, according timeline-wise, about Göbekli Tepe, that those all point to Sirius. And I think the Mediterranean overall is really a birthplace of the Earth. So much kind of transpired from the Mediterranean area. And so, yeah, and if you dive into the research of Atlantis, a lot of the original Atlantean priests of that time they called themselves Syrian Melchizedeks. So I think Sirius plays a huge role. I think there are many founder races, though. I don't think there's just one. I think it is a conglomeration. I would say Alex Collier says there's 22 original founder races. I would say there's probably like 24. So I had to guess. I honestly think there's probably like 64, just going off of the codons of the DNA. There's like 64 codons in the DNA, which breaks down to amino acids, which ultimately amino acids are genetic design. Each one of those is a genetic component. So I think it could probably be about 64 original founders. I think there's a lot of untold galactic stories. I think there are universal systems, and I think there are occult systems. The occult systems are the lesser known star systems. And what I think these are is that they're not just aliens coming in. I think these are intelligence fields. These are simply just intelligences. These are just mind fields that bring the information from those stargates to the planet, and that they embody within us. They embody within the consciousness here. And so we become the aliens. We become the galactic nations and races. We are the first galactic federations that are here, self-conscious. And so we are them. Like, there's no separation when we talk about this stuff, that it's some sort of invader, even though the invader technology comes through us. And so I just think that it's a huge story to be told, and there is no like right or wrong answer in this, and everybody gets the downloads in a different way, and we're just streamlining the consciousness as an electromagnetic imprint of information to bring it forward. I've been most heavily connected to the Hydra system, so my perspective of it is through the Hydra nations. I'm very connected to that system. I have Hydra in my moon position. I could always do your chart sometime. That was one thing I wanted to offer to you. I'd love to do your chart and just really break down for you which galactic systems you channel, what you're connected to, what your origins are. Because I think there's so much information in this that you can get about your own cosmic identity. And I think that opens up the bigger cosmic Akashic record field for one to tap into, to restore all of their planetary knowledge and kind of be able to access that planetary hall of records to integrate that information from what their cosmic perspective is. And we're not just humans, you know, we are hybrids of many different kinds here. And that's what's so fun about all of this. That's why I created the Starseed Activator line, was because I was getting downloads at the time that I was doing this, that I was to bring forth attunement tools, because at some point the galactic knowledge will be as common as any other knowledge, that starseeds on Earth will be awakened through the new Earth processes and the future prophecy. And I'm to help people get there with that. So yeah,
Are you talking about these right now, like these different oils, these sprays? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So tell us about that. That's interesting.
Well, I sent them to you and your wife, because I have to tell you, your wife is so like sweet to me over the email. Like, I love her. Right and on. I wanted to send these to you guys to try them out, to see if there was any that you really connected with and if they activated you to the system. I spent a lot of time channeling each star system, really tuning into each of the celestial bodies, like literally having my star finder on my phone and finding it in the sky, and then just like really, you know, meditating and sending the transmission back and forth and trying to really embody the consciousness of that system. And so I was guided to particular scents and oils that would activate one to that system. And so each one was, you know, really thoroughly thought through, and they are attuned to that system. Each bottle goes through an attunement process. Each bottle has a specific crystal that I was also guided to that holds the frequency from that system as well.
Thank you so much for sending me these, Indy. You've got like the whole box here, so I can pick and choose what galaxy I want to connect to and when. Let me get this opened up here real quick, because this is the whole enchilada, right? Is it like adult proof?
It is. It's definitely adult proof. So had to pack them real nicely, right? We didn't want you to get any spills, or just make sure that the caps are on nice and tight.
There we go. Look at this. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that's how it comes. When you open the box, you can already smell it. And then the first one I opened is Syrian. Is that a sign? I definitely think that's a sign. I am intuiting that you are probably very connected to this system.
I like this. I like how you've actually got different like minerals and crystals and rocks in there. So, and this is what you were talking about earlier, right? The different.
Yeah. So each one is infused with its own crystals that are attuned to the star system in which it's made for. And yeah, each one is activated according to the energy of that system. That one, Palladian, has the Lemurian quartz, and the next one that you have
got a little crystal on the bottom there. You can see it. That's so cool. It literally does. And then this is Lyrian. Yeah. When you're in the mood to be frisky.
Galactic.
Galactic cat. Meow.
So you can spray them on if you want, and you can actually just, smell them. You can activate them with your galactic altars. You can take them outside and work with them as well.
Okay. Like, do you
and-
recommend for like meditation and stuff like that? You spray it before meditation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And you feel the activation immediately as you go into that meditation. I always would suggest pairing it with a meditation that's of that star system. So an Arcturian meditation, something like that, wearing the activator, you're going to really open up those senses to that star system.
Awesome. Yeah, I can smell it. I got some on my hands now. So I've got the whole universe on my hands. Ha ha.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is really cool. Thank you so much for sending that. I'm going to have a lot of fun with these. And folks, you can pick these up at the website. So I'm going to leave the link specific in the video description box. It's IndigoAngel222.com. That's IndigoAngel222.com.
Yeah. Well, each one has a different one. So the Lyran one, this is my Lyran. This one is frankincense, myrrh, and sea salt, because the Lyrans are very 12th dimensional beings. They're very work within the quantum realms, quantum cognition. They're very much DNA healers. They heal and correct the DNA. They also really activate one to avatar consciousness. And also, I think they can, if you are a Lyran, this can really bring in the original memories of the Lyran system and the Lyran wars, even, and things that happened 550 million years ago. And so this one was infused with clear quartz and carnelian, as they have a very activating energy, but also a very healing and sensual nature to them as well. So this one is my favorite right now. I've been working with this one all the time. And I think it's always a good for me. Lyra is in my fortune position in my astrology as well, so they really work with me in terms of my abundance. So I really that's why I like to work with them. Orion, this one has obsidian. This one has cassia, clove, nutmeg, and fir. So this one was really going for a grounding vibration. Also to help Orion starseeds with absorbing a lot of the negative energy. Orion starseeds tend to be polarity integrators. They hold indigo type 3 missions, which they were kind of designed to come into this world and extract the negative energies out of it. And be transmuters for that. So I created this one to really help them on that mission in terms of being able to transmute those energies. This is so fun.
Yeah. I appreciate you showing the different types of minerals and stuff in there. This is neat. This is really neat.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the thing about essential oils is it really activates your higher chakras. When you breathe it in, you're activating everything from the heart, the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown. And that's really what you're opening up. And you're also opening up psychic senses that you aren't aware of, because we have more than just 5 or 7. We actually, those that are kind of evolved on the ascension path actually have about 12. And so this kind of gets you activated to those. This one has orange, sage, and lemongrass. So this is very grounding, yet very clearing with the sage oil as well. I tried to include more spiritual oils in them. And yellow citrine quartz as well. The Syrian one, you probably would like this one, because I have a feeling you are connected to this system. This one is eucalyptus, rosemary, and lavender and lime, and it was designed to really carry the essence of the ocean. Syrians are very connected to water. They're very connected to dolphins, cetaceans, whales. They have strong telepathic abilities. They can transmit. And this one was charged with lapis lazuli and turquoise as well. And this one is very connected to royal lineages, right? We talk about the Melchizedeks. We talk about what's painted on the ceiling in the Sistine Chapel. Well, guess what they painted it with? Lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli. So this is very connected to, I think, the bloodlines of the Syrians. I've had a lot of divine masculines really connect with this, which is interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, and all of them really. I have Andromeda. This one is aquatic and lilac. This has amethyst crystals, and the lilac and the aquatic essence really, I think, brings in the mother energy of Andromeda. It's a very floral nature. I think Andromedans are very highly attuned beings, and they carry some of the highest energy. They're very equated to the Lyrans, essentially, in terms of their energy. And then we also have the Pleiadians. So the Pleiadians, this one is rose oil and patchouli, which rose oil connects us into the rose grail line, which is, very connected to Mary Magdalene. And the Pleiadians are fifth dimensional. They're very 5D. They're very heart-based. They are healers. And I brought up Mary Magdalene because she was also an oil anointing priestess. She worked with myrrh. She worked with rose oil. And so I think this just really connects in with the divine feminine a little bit more. But this one has also Lemurian quartz, as well as the Pleiadians were also the original cedar races to the human soul spirit body in the Lemurian time, going back to ancient Australia and, Kandam Kumari and Madagascar. So this one really, really, I think, activates, the Pleiadian energies. And what I love about it is each one on the bottle on the front, they have activation symbols. So these light codes are also, you can use these light code symbols to activate your consciousness to the system. And I spent a lot of time choosing each one of those as well, making sure that it was the perfect symbolism for that star origin.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like you've really done your homework on that. And how long have you been using them?
For about 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, 3 years. That's probably been my total journey with the creation process with them. So yeah, I've been mixing and matching. Currently, I'm working on new ones though. I'm trying to design new scents for a Draco line and also a Hydra line. It's interesting. Draco has been like the #1 request. People want a Draco activator. And that's another thing about Draco too, right? Like Draco's not all, they have, they're blamed for all of the negative things here on this earth, in terms of their descendancy through the Borgia lines and through Rome and the Vatican. But there's also another nature to Draco that people might not realize, that there's a reason why things are demonized at the same time, right? So it's to keep you from knowing the truth. And when you really dive into that system, it's a very rich system. It's very vast with royalty and beauty. And so I think that there's also a lot of demonization around it to keep people out of it. They don't want people to mess into the Draco system. But if you access it, you'll find that at the core of it is the Cat's Eye Nebula. And so Draco is very feline as much as it is draconic or dragon, so to speak. And you can see that through the cats. Like when you see cats, how they have the pupil, the horizontal pupil, dragons have the same type of pupil, right? And even crocodiles and things like this. So they're all kind of the same soul group. So it's really interesting how that all ties in. But I'm excited to put the Draco one together. I was thinking jasmine, musk, and dragon's blood for that one at some point.
Nice. I've always wanted a wish dragon, right? Ever since the never ending story, I've wanted a wish dragon. And yeah, hello, who doesn't want to activate their dragon energy? That's awesome. And so just to clarify, like I think I understand what you're saying. These terms that you're using them as like a verbiage that would, like as a metaphor. It's because people be like, oh, you mean that I'm going to spray this stuff all over me and I'm going to turn into a Draco? Are you serious? Or are you from Sirius? Where do I sign up? You're just talking about like connecting you almost like, I guess you could say, a quantum level with the way that you're putting this together. Well, I want to get your take. Tell us about it. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, it is an interdimensional experience. If you're able to access that, if you're activated to the interdimensional spectrum, these energies come forward through your internal experience, right? So I think that's how one can ultimately experience it. And sometimes people can see it. It depends on your clairaudiency or your clairvoyancy, your claircognition. For me, I'm very, I would say clairvoyant. I see holographically into structures. I can see holographically into people's field, into the earth body. So for me, it comes through visually, but also comes through as a feeling or a knowing inside my heart, also through my sacral chakra as well. Things usually psychically come through this. So I think it's different for everybody and what they can perceive or pick up on, but it's really just about letting go of what you think and just allowing the feeling or the thought or the presence of the energy to come forward, and flowing with it, essentially. And if people want to know, I also wrote a book. I don't know if people know, but I wrote a book. I have it with me, but this is how to read celestial Akashic Starseed origins. So if you want to know your origins, you can buy my book and you can figure this out yourself according to your astrology chart. I give the methodology, I give all the alignments to these systems. And if people can't do it themselves, I also offer readings for people to find out what their origins are. So that way they would know which attunement spray to get, essentially.
Yeah. And you sent us the whole box. So we're going to have fun. Like,
I'm like, so what am I in the mood for tonight? Do I want a little, do I want some Lyrian action? I don't know. Honey, what are you in the mood for?
So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I wanted to show off your website again, because you're on, I just want to make sure too, are you on YouTube? You're on YouTube still, aren't you?
I am on YouTube.
Great.
Yep.
And where else are you at? Tell us like where else we can find you.
Well, mainly YouTube. I also have a Patreon.
Okay.
I'm currently actually launching a Starseed course, believe it or not. I'm just not quite there because everything's still getting put up on the website.
Okay.
But I'm doing it with Pink Bella Aloha and Light Star on YouTube, which are both two very powerful divine feminine pioneers in the Starseed community. And we're going to be doing a 4-day container where we, that's them right there. You could see galactic races and missions, curious zetas, with Light Star, and then also Pink Bella Aloha, what does it mean to be a starseed? And we kind of go into the depth in both of those videos about just the consciousness of it. And if someone feels called to this, I mean, this is the belief that you originally incarnated from other celestial systems. Not everybody on Earth is a starseed. Some of us are Earth seeds. Some of us are, just it doesn't apply. Like there's different types of soul beings here, but if you feel called to this, typically it means that you are activating to your avatar templating, and it means that you're going beyond 12D. You're going into the 13th dimensional spectrum and beyond. Galactic consciousness is awakening within you, which takes you really into the bizarre and quantum realms of this earth, where you start bringing forth language and vocabulary that's just like, what is she talking about, right? That's what happens when you go galactic. And it really expands you just infinitely into so much cosmic perception and potential. And it really comes forward when one is about to get into mission, when one is about to go completely into service mission. And it comes in because these systems are part of your soul signature, but they have information for you. They have technologies for you to embody, to bring it forth, especially if you go into coalition with these systems, right? If you become an ambassador of these systems, some people do that. They find out that their origin is Lyran, and then they become an ambassador of that system, which means they speak on the behalf. I mean, when you see all these channelers coming forward and they're like speaking from Ezekiel, from some system or whatever, it's because they're running a transmission as an ambassador to that nation to bring forth intelligences from that place. And and we all have the ability to do this stuff. It's just how far do you want to go and expand and open yourself up to these things. So it's really interesting and it's so much fun. I think it's really at the foundation of Gridworker stuff. So if one's kind of called to Gridwork as well, I think they kind of come into the perception of cosmic intelligence before they go into that, because it's like a process or an evolution of their awareness, or their ascension, because that's what opens you up to the Earth's Akashic memory field. And the Earth's Akashic memory, she holds all the records to these celestial systems and radial intelligences. And so you expand into the avatar body, connect into the galactic energy, opens you up to this whole world of grid work. And that's kind of been my process within it. I've gone through these phases and these levels within it. And it might be out of order for some people, but we're all typically kind of interconnected in some way.
Wow. Yeah. So what you're saying is once you go galactic, you never go back.
You never go back. That's right.
Can I get a drum roll, please? Watch out for the tomatoes. Yeah, well, that was very interesting. Now, I do have a couple questions from the chat. And one of the questions is, what is your take on the Akashic records?
My take on the Akashic records is that it's the planetary infinite database, essentially, of all memory, all time, all records. So I think we have access to our own personal Akash and how much we can go into that, but then we can also gain access to the planetary's Akashic records as well. And it's really essentially, it's a library. It's a library of all records, all information, all timelines. And I think you can achieve that by levels of initiation and qualifications as well. That spirit that you attain through spirit, through activations, through gaining access to new source and also new teachers. You know, the saying, like, the teacher presents itself when the student is ready type of thing. It's the same thing with attaining more access to the Akashic records. The information presents when you're ready to access it. I think you were on mute.
Maybe that was intentional. I'm ready to access lots and lots of gold. Where's me gold? No, it's really, you know what? Knowledge is gold. Knowledge is priceless. And the present is now. And they call it the present for a reason, because it's a gift. And it was a wonderful conversation. Really enjoyed talking with you, Indy. Any other words of wisdom you want to share with us before we finish up this podcast?
When you said gold, I seen gold down in your Earth Star chakra. I seen some gold coins down there. So
cool. Thank you. That's where they went.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, cool. Very much appreciated. And I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Where's your next trip? DC? That's the next adventure you're doing?
That's the next. And I just want to say thank you for having me on. It was such a pleasure to be here and talk with you and all of your viewers today. Yeah, my next event is going to be Washington, DC. My next course is going to be a Starseed course. So I've already done some courses. So if people want to learn about Gridwork, on my website, you can access the Gridwork Facilitator course. I teach everything from the intro levels to the facilitation level of Gridwork. And then, yeah, doing the Starseed course at the beginning of April, and then DC. And so, yeah, my next 6 months are stacked, but I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
Right on. And be super careful. And if somebody invites you into a certain building, you know, with a certain hat on that looks like, you know, they're certain supporters of somebody, don't do it. Don't take the candy from the strangers. I think, folks, you can figure that out, what I'm talking about there. And everybody, hope you have a beautiful day. Be the change you want to see. And live stream that event you're doing, Indy. Live stream it for real.
I will do my best. Yes.
You need to live stream that. That could be really cool. And there could be somebody that picks that up that has 10 million followers and they'll think it's amazing. So no, you really should share that with the world, because that could be, the more people you get to watch that, the more people you're going to have connected to that energy field. And
well, I would love to do a live while I'm there, if you're up for it. Yeah. Hello. Absolutely. Help me stream it out. I only have, you know, so far of a reach that I have on my own. So I would love to be able to get it to a bigger, wider audience for sure.
Yeah. Make donuts, not war. Make donuts, not war, ladies and gentlemen. Organic donuts, non-GMO, and completely peaceful. Y'all are just going to go out there and, you know, it's going to be a very peaceful, loving thing. It sounds like you're not planning on raiding any buildings or anything like that.
No, not at all.
For the record. Just for the record. Folks, mix it up and be the change you want to see.
You start bringing forth language and vocabulary that's just like, what is she talking about, right? That's what happens when you go galactic.
Wow. Yeah. So what you're saying is once you go galactic, you never go back.
You never go back.
So what am I in the mood for tonight? Do I want a little, do I want some Lyrian action? I don't know. Well, yes, honey, what are you in the mood for?
Nazi stuff. Like you'll eat the bugs and you will like it. You'll get abducted and you will like it because they're aliens. Listen to the aliens.
I can smell it. I got some on my hands now. So I've got the whole universe on my hands. Ha ha!
If you want to watch this podcast in full, and I know you do, go to leakproject.com and check out the archives. We do the live shows free every single day, and if you miss the live shows, just sign up and become a member. You have access to about 4,500 video and audio podcasts. Hundreds of them are only available on our website, leakproject.com. Hope to see you for part 2, and be excellent to each other, everybody. Be the change you want to see.